Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritayam Nanam Chaiva Nanotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Ludirayet. Nishtapraye Shabdareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, chapter 11, entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes. And today's text is 29. Should we, okay. Ya Padim Hari Bhavena Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Iva Tatpara Bhajet Shri Iva Tatpara Hari Atmana Hare Loke Hari Atma Hare Loke Patya Shri Iva Modate Patya Shri Iva Modate Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Iva Tatpara Hari Atmana Hare Loke Patya Shri Iva Modate Yapati Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Iva Tatpara Hari Atmana Hare Loke Patya Shri Iva Modate Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Iva Tatpara Hari Atmana Hare Loke Patya Shri Iva Modate. Please chant. Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Tatpara Navana Loke Patya Shri Iva Modate Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Tatpara Hari Atma Hare Loke Patya Shri Hare Modate Yapatim Hari Bhavena Bhajet Shri Tatpara Hari Atma Hare Loke Patya Shri Modate. Any woman who Patim, her husband, Hari Bhavena, mentally accepting him as equal to Hari, the Supreme Person of Godhead. Bhajet worships or render service to Shri Iva, exactly like the goddesses of fortune. Tatpara, being devoted. Hari Atmana, completely absorbed in thoughts of Hari. Hare Loke, in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets. Patya with her husband. Shiva, exactly like the goddesses of fortune. Modate enjoys spiritual eternal life. Translation. The woman who engages in the service of her husband, following strictly in the footsteps of the goddesses of fortune, surely returns home back to Godhead with her devotee husband and lives very happily in the Vaikuntha planets. Appropriate by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Sri Prabhupada Ki. The faithfulness of the goddess of fortune in the ideal is the ideal for the chaste woman. The Brahma Samhita 925 says, Lakshmi Shastra Shata Sambarama Sevyamanam. In the Vaikuntha planets, Lord Vishnu is worshipped by many, many thousands of goddesses of fortune. And in Goloka Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is worshipped by many, many thousands of gopis, all of whom are goddesses of fortune. A woman should serve her husband as faithfully as the goddesses of fortune. A man should be an ideal servant of the Lord, and a woman should be an ideal wife like the goddesses of fortune. The both husband and wife will will be so faithful and strong that by acting together they will return home back to Godhead without a doubt. In this regard, Srila Madhavacharya gives the opinion Hari Asmi Shtita iti Shinam Bhattari Bhavana Shyanam Chakuru Nityam Shudranam Brahmanandishu Vrityanam Samini Tata Hari Baba Udritaha. A woman should think of her husband as the supreme lord. Similarly, a disciple should think of the spiritual master as the supreme personality of the Godhead. A Shudra should think of a Brahmana as the supreme personality of Godhead, and a servant should think of his master as the supreme person of the Godhead. In this way, all of them will automatically become devotees of the Lord. In other words, by thinking this way, all of them will become Krishna conscious. Om Jnanantimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitani Bhutale Swayam Rupam Karamagayam Datti Swam Padantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jivatate Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptana Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindaveshwari Vishnavanu Sutta Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhashta Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shri Vasi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyamani Pashtatate Shatarine. Welcome, dear devotees. I'm very blessed to be here today, sitting on the Western, and I've given this opportunity by the devotees from Karan Bhavan to to try to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam in front of Srila Prabhupada and our dear worship Shishiko and Taimai Shashi. So I always seek your blessings so I can share something from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I pray I always remain a student. And so here's a conversation between Narad Muni and Yudhishthira Maharaj, and as you know, we finished the topic on the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, and now Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking about the duties of the humankind. How can they live their lives so they can spiritually advance at the end of they can reach this spiritual perfection at the end of their lives. And so at the beginning of this chapter, Maharaj Yudhishthira asks about what is the what is this, this spiritual culture, and this the way he can lead the whole world, and he can lead the people, and he can still through the occupational duties, he can lead them to this spiritual perfection. So, and here we are at the part where Narada Muni explains what's the duty of a chaste wife. And so in previous verses we have seen that Narada Muni has explained what's the action, what's the duty of a wife. So we can see from the perspective of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, right? Narada Muni is explaining what's the sort of action, what's the Abhideya for the wife, right? And then in text 29, Narada Muni explains, so what's the goal, what's the Prayojana of of the marriage, and how can wife can do that a relationship with the husband can spiritually advance. So these days we have a lot of crises going on, and we have a poverty crisis, we have different wars going on, people fighting with their families, within societies, within countries, but there's this cause of crisis that's causing the other crisis to come upon, and it's the crisis of the misidentification with the body. Right. So due to this misidentification, we have lost understanding what's our true duty. Because we identify with the body, and these days we can see that the aim of the aim of the human life is to enjoy the senses, gratify the senses, right? But here we can clearly see that what Narada Muni suggests is that the goal of the human birth is to attain the supreme person of Godhead, to become a devotee of Krishna, right? And we can see that also in Bhagavad Gita, from 1864 to 1866. Krishna explains that the life, the purpose of life, the prayojan is to to always think of me, become my devotee. And he also nicely explains that in 1866 that the way to do it is to surrender to me, offer your homage, become fully absorbed in my thoughts, in thought of me. So and we can see that so in the same way, all these things can also, like, almost everything can be explained in terms of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. So in the same way, we go on streets, we distribute books, and we can also see, like, what's the relationship, what's the action that we do in the street, and what's the goal of it. So the same way, I go to, if we go to the work, right, we have a relationship with our boss. So the action is to do whatever job we have, and then the goal is maybe get the money, or whatever the goal is. And in this case, we can see that Narada Muni is explaining that whatever situation we are in, whatever embody we are, there's a way of us to attain this supreme goal, which is to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. And here he's explaining what's the duty of a life, right? So the very important thing to mention here is that we can see that Prabhupada explains in the purport that so the wife should see her husband as a supreme lord, right? And then similarly, husband should see his guru as a supreme lord, and then his guru as his guru, and so on and so forth, right? So it seems like there's this so the one is lower and one is higher, but actually it doesn't. So everyone's on the spiritual level is equal. It's because of our conditioning, of our whatever body we have attained, we have different ways to advance spiritually. And so we can see here that um, yeah, so we can see that, the, so the family life is because we need a lot of time in order to completely surrender to the process, completely surrender to Krishna. um, here we can see the the structure of the Vanashrama Dharma, right? Vanashrama system, right? How we can gradually become to that position that we can completely surrender, right? um, and yeah, so we can see that in these days, no one's really following any of this, because the way, what I, from my own experience, for the scene, that we are a little bit confused, and people don't know what's the aim of the life. And the same way, as people coming together, making their families, we don't really understand what's the real purpose of making a family, right? We can see, because of we try to gratify our senses, we try to we have this consciousness of me and my family life becomes sort of way of satisfying my desires, satisfying my senses. And we can see that it doesn't really lead anywhere, because um, as long as we don't have understanding what is the goal of it, is gonna eventually fail. So we can see that if there's a problem in a family already, then it's gonna affect all the other things in society, right? So we can see, um, you know maybe the children that are brought in a family are also gonna be affected by this, because the parents don't have this sort of value of what is the aim of this family life, right? So we can see, from my own experience, we went to Carlisle, and you can see that after 4 or 5 in the evening, we can see there's full streets with the kids. They're running around. They don't know what's going on, and this is explained as mm, uh, so yeah, so this is explained as one shankara, right? So because husband and wife comes together in order to satisfy their senses, they unwanted progeny comes about, and it affects all the society. So next generations also will have a this mindset of, like, the misunderstanding what's the purpose of life. So yeah, so mm, we can see that, you know from the purpose, it may apparently seem like that the woman is maybe inferior to the husband, but actually it's they are in equal position. It's just have their different duties in order to spiritually progress. And the thing is, so we talk about here about qualities of a chaste wife, but it's very important that that husband is also is a devotee, so he also following his duty. So if that's not the case, then the wife shouldn't stay with the person. Uh, so we can see it. So and so so I'm reading myself first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Prabhupada nicely explains there that that only the collocation is that we are absorbed in a thoughts of Krishna, right? So in the same way as or maybe the husband's guru is absorbed in the thoughts of Lord Krishna, it's the same as the husband's also absorbed in the same thought process, and this the same goes to the wife. Um, so Yeah, so we can see that, you know, because we don't have this understand, when people come together, we don't have an understanding what's the real goal of the, you know, um, of the marriage. We try to, we can see this slowly, gradually, people, you know, preparing not to get married, you know, live you know, separate lives. Um, and interesting enough, when I was preparing for this lecture, I found out that economically, it's actually is more beneficial for the country that if the people actually living separately, because they tend to spend more money than they're living together, because when they live together they have a set amount of you know, bills they're paying, and so it's like they spending less money. So, and we also can see it from that, because we don't have that answer what's the aim of it. We think of the, okay, if it's, you know, sense gratification, then you know, why to go such a through such an endeavor, you know, making a family, because they don't see what's the use of it, what's the purpose, right? And so because this sort of in responsibility, it comes with a lot of responsibility, because in a family life we have to you know, we have to accept things that are favorable, you know, and and you know, um, reject things that are not favorable, right? So so because there's so much endeavor, we can see that, you know, young people tend to, you know, ask questions like, what's the point of it? There's no use of, you know, going through to this way, you know, get married, and you know, because they don't have this, you know, understanding what is the goal of it. So yeah, so um, so very what I note from the purport by Prabhupada is that um, is that it's simply that action, that duty that we perform to, you know, husband, to the wife. Um, it's not gonna get us, you know, it's not gonna get us to the, you know, to the point of surrender, but that bhakti, that, you know, the service attitude we are looking for. So, you know, wife has service attitude to the husband in the same way husband has service attitude to the wife. And that bhakti is only that is going to actually elevate us, you know, spiritually. You know, only that we can spiritually advance, because we can see if there's a, you know, family, you know, just a normal family, modern family, and maybe Krishna conscious family. They might seem maybe similar from the outside, but actually they have a, you know, different different goal, different aim. So and that bhakti is that difference, you know. Um, uh, Uh, any questions or comments so far?
Beneficial to have people broken down into smaller units rather than being families where they share everything. So is that why are they actually encouraging that the marriages break up so they can make more money out of it that way, or is it just that's just something that happened coincidentally?
Yeah, the way I feel it, maybe I also when I go outside, I see this, you know, there's different advertisements, and the way, you know, society is built is that, yeah, maybe they're also advertising that as a way of, like, you know, way of living, you know. And obviously everyone's heard of you know, open relationships, right? As you have more than one partner, right? And it's kind of like more advertised every day more and more. And yeah, because it's, you know, these days it's all about, you know, gaining more material funds, making gaining more money. And that's why probably it's also like the family life's also like going that direction of, like, you know, just not making families at all, or, you know, yeah. Is that okay?
So how do we avoid becoming overwhelmed with hopelessness, if we see that society, it's going to take such a huge endeavor to try and correct things, you'd have to start with the educational system and then try and train them from an early age. Maybe the older generations now are too far gone. You will see a solution.
Yeah, so the way I see it is the current educational systems, I think, is very hard to change. It's for like us devotees to maybe make communities and make maybe your own little schools and kind of like try to develop from there and maybe get someone attracted. Because I feel like it's a sort of like a train that we cannot really stop. It's like it's just going and try to stop that train is very, very, very difficult. And in order to just we start to build our own community and slowly develop further. So we have open maybe a school or a different other opportunities for the people. Giving the other way of living. Give up other different perspective of life. And yeah, so and definitely starts within ourselves with each of us. The only thing we can change, we cannot really affect what's going on outside of us, but the way we perceive things, the way we accept things, and so it only starts with ourselves. So that the change of heart is needed there in order to make some difference. Um, 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 so there was something more I wanted to talk about today. So yeah, so we have to come to the point when understanding what is our true identity. So it's not enough to say, because so we can see in a life in a life today that we either we are like very materialistic, or when we get really tired of the material enjoyment, we tend to renounce things artificially, right? So we can see these extremes in the world today, and so ones who are good enough, material things, they go in the forest. Now they're gonna live away from everything, but that's actually not also the way to go, because when you get, then you also get tired of like that artificial renunciation, because your senses have to be engaged somehow, right? So then you jump back again, back to the material enjoyment. So the solution is to rather than renouncing something artificially, but doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna, right? So it doesn't matter who you are, in school, or I don't know, you're a football player, as teacher, right? It's a matter of a change of consciousness, right? So interesting enough, I was also reading from first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that um, 5,000 years ago, when it was so the pastime of when Krishna comes back to Dwaraka, so everyone's very happy, and it was one of the shlokas. It was said that even in that time there was also prostitutes, right? And they were devotees, so they also were playing a part of the society. So the, so in order to keep the society at the right balance, and so it's a matter of like, it doesn't matter really like what's your duty. It's more of that if you engage all your activities for the pleasure of the Krishna, right? And that's the real renunciation, when you offer everything to the Supreme Person of the Godhead. Because when we renounce things artificially, we create this vacuum in our minds, and naturally when there's a vacuum, things want to naturally come in. So Shishi Kointa, my Pusha Shiki. So, so, and there's um, so these, these temporary identities as a wife, as a husband, they are, they're temporary, right? So, me as a teacher, me as a student, me as a engineer, right? So these identities are just for this one lifetime. But so we have to understand what is our, what is our true identity, um, and then so and then we can see from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying to Lord Jagannath, that I'm not Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishna, I'm not, or a Shudra. No, I am a brahmachari, or a householder, or a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He's like an ocean of nectar, and he's the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He's always existing with brilliance. So, so we might have these temporary, responsibilities, but we should understand what's the, what's that, what is our true identity. So, because when we understand what is our relationship, what is our relationship with God, we can, and then we can, when we understand also what is the, what's the prayojana, what is the aim of that relationship, we can act accordingly. So because these days we don't know, who we are, we don't know what's the aim of our lives, we don't know how to act. Naturally, we're gonna make, maybe wrong choices, and we're gonna act whimsically, so that, we have to understand what's whom to be, who we are, and whom we belong to, right? What's our, internal identity, and what Chaitanya is nicely saying, and uh, um, uh, explaining, what is our true identity. Um, um, yeah. Any more questions or comments?
People that are interested in that puja or self-love or anything around that. It is observed that people are not so, when speaking about, say, religion or God, doesn't bring a good reputation, say. So how can we create some environment wherein, okay, yes, who we are and also whose we are, sort of, then people can appreciate and take into Krishna consciousness.
So, um, so the question is like, what kind of like arrangements or what kind of environment we can make for maybe someone who's new, who maybe doesn't. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So we naturally, when we start on this, spiritual path, we because we still in a conditioned state, we think about, what's going to be benefit for me, right? So we can start off saying that, this practice of devotion service, we can bring the peace, the mind, the peacefulness of the mind. You can reduce the stress, and open. You can open up more yourself. You can make actually better relationship with people. Make a relationship with yourself as well. Treat yourself also nicely, and there's a lot of these material mental benefits that we can get of it. And I feel like that's sort of like definitely the first stage. So that's what we also are doing. We're doing today. We're also doing an OPTIO program, right? We unite people maybe who are less familiar with Krishna consciousness, and teach about this mantra meditation, right? So there's a lot of benefit to it, and either you're a materialist or a spiritualist, you can take a benefit of it, and then only then when someone's asking more questions, right? So for the people, for the most of the people, so who are only taking the path, for every human being, the aim should be asking these questions. What's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of life? Where am I going? Who am I? What's my true identity? But then when we get over that point, we should actually our aim should be looking for the pure devotee, so he can actually bring us back to where we belong. So yeah, is that okay, bro? Any other questions or comments? Should I finish up here? Yeah. Okay. Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Shri Prabhupada ki. Nitya Gaur Premanati.
Ki.
How are you ki?